The Pacific Theater presented U.S. Marines with a form of warfare unlike anything seen before. A humid, brutal, close-quarters grind against an entrenched and fanatical enemy, creating a continuous, lethal challenge that conventional tactics could not solve. The heart of this challenge was the unseen wall, the dense, suffocating jungle foliage that transformed every foot of advance into a potential ambush, turning the battlefield into a labyrinth of shadows and hidden threats. The Japanese defenders were masters of camouflage, operating from hidden spider holes, interconnected bunkers, and expertly concealed firing positions, making target identification a near impossible task. To successfully eliminate key command elements or silence the machine gun nests that pinned down entire platoons, the Marines desperately needed surgical precision at extreme ranges. Yet the jungle actively frustrated this necessity. The constant, ambient tropical heat created a thick, shimmering atmospheric haze near the ground, severely distorting sightlines and making long-range observation unreliable. Adding to this misery, the relentless, suffocating moisture ensured that standard optical glass was perpetually fogged and difficult to clear, rendering high-magnification scopes ineffective at the most critical moments. This complex environmental reality turned every conventional sniper shot into a high-stakes gamble, fundamentally crippling the American advantage in superior training and marksmanship and demanding an urgent, radical technological solution devised outside the established military bureaucracy. This grim environmental reality immediately led to the severe and systematic problem of the standard failure with existing equipment issued to the elite Marine snipers. The conventional U.S. sniper rifle setups, primarily based on the inherently reliable M1903. Springfield, fitted with standard traditional optics, were fundamentally designed for the clear visibility, mild climates, and stable conditions of European battlefields and open-range shooting, not the corrosive, tropical crucible of the Pacific. Under relentless, penetrating humidity, the delicate internal prisms and lenses of the scopes would quickly gather moisture and fog beyond any field-expedient remedy, rendering the entire assembly useless at the critical moment of sighting. Furthermore, the scope's mounting hardware, often designed for quick detachment or ease of manufacturing, proved disastrously inadequate for jungle conditions. These mounts failed to maintain precise calibration, or hold zero, after a single rough march, a minor fall, or even a violent bump against a tree. A sniper's operational existence hinges entirely on the certainty of his shot being unseen and guaranteed, with failing, fragile, and unreliable optics that shifted their point of impact after routine handling. The highly trained sniper simply became an exposed and vulnerable target, leading to unacceptable mission failure rates and loss of life. The strategic deadlock created by the Japanese proficiency in concealment and the failure of conventional optics created an overwhelming need for the invisible shot. In jungle warfare, where the front lines were often just a few meters apart, every burst of machine gun fire or sustained exchange of rifle rounds immediately exposed the location of an advancing unit, inviting devastating and highly accurate Japanese mortar and counterfire. The Marines desperately needed a surgical capability, the ability to deliver a decisive, silent strike without sacrificing precision to the hostile environment, allowing infantry to advance without being pinned down and decimated by unseen opposition. The operational goal was absolute. One shot must equal one kill, eliminating the threat, the spotter, or the command officer directing the enemy's fire before the enemy even registered the attack or located the sniper's position. Achieving this level of guaranteed precision required a rifle system that was completely and utterly reliable, impervious to environmental degradation, and accurate to the extreme tolerances required to thread a bullet through dense, interweaving foliage to strike a concealed target. Without this fundamental capability, every Marine advance became an impossibly costly, drawn-out battle of attrition that the Japanese, masters of concealment and patience, were more than happy to prolong indefinitely. The desperate existential need for a field-ready, reliable solution landed directly on the shoulders of an unconventional mind, the gunsmith. This vital individual was often not an engineer with a college degree or a rank-and-file armorer following procedure, but a highly talented, self-taught ordnance mechanic, operating not in a clean, sterile factory back home, but in a humid, temporary, and often unauthorized workshop located perilously close to the front lines. The gunsmith's garage was a chaotic, pragmatic place of pure, practical necessity, filled with unauthorized tools, discarded weapon parts, and a singular, relentless focus on immediate, tangible results over rigid military doctrine. He was tasked with achieving impossible precision in an environment that actively mocked every conventional design principle, a job that required scrapping the standard military rulebook and embracing radical, field-expedient modifications that often ignored official procurement regulations and common sense. He fundamentally understood that the salvation of the snipers and the key to reducing casualty rates wouldn't come from a new design approved years later in Washington, but from a practical, robust, and permanent fix devised right there in the relentless mud and heat of the Pacific Islands. The gunsmith's solution to failing optics and shifting zero was immediately considered stupid and unprofessional by military ordnance experts. He recognized that the problem was the system's reliance on delicate, removable mounts. His radical idea was to discard the standard mounts and permanently affix the scope base directly to the rifle receiver. This involved heavy soldering, custom drilling, and large, non-standard screws to ensure zero never shifted. Furthermore, to combat the crippling humidity, he introduced bulky, custom-made heavy rubber housing and waterproofing seals around the scope's turrets. This modification violated nearly every rule of military equipment maintenance. The resulting weapon was unwieldy, difficult to clean, and looked clumsy, a Frankenstein-like weapon clearly cobbled together. Yet, the gunsmith understood that what looked impractical in a sterile environment was, in fact, structurally indestructible in the jungle. He prioritized absolute, permanent, structural rigidity over aesthetic appeal or ease of maintenance. When the modified rifles were first presented for formal evaluation, the response was one of immediate, profound institutional disapproval. The brass shrugs was the universal reaction. Ordnance officers, focused on procedure and logistics, quickly flagged the rifles as non-compliant and rejected them outright. They cited the unmilitary appearance, the unacceptable difficulty of maintenance due to the permanent mounting, and the risk of using non-standard equipment. The very traits that made the modified rifle functionally superior, its permanent rigidity and defiance of disassembly, were precisely why it was officially deemed unsuitable for frontline use. Despite the official rejection, a quiet rebellion was brewing. The Marines on the front lines, who were constantly losing lives to unseen enemy fire, immediately recognized the life-saving genius behind the stupid concept. The gunsmith's modifications spread rapidly through unofficial underground channels. The soldiers facing the unseen wall knew they had found their answer, regardless of what the regulations dictated. The ultimate validation of the gunsmith's defiance came in the brutal crucible of combat. A highly trained Marine sniper, armed with one of the heavily modified zero-shift-proof M1903 rifles, was tasked with eliminating an entrenched Japanese heavy machine gun nest that had halted an entire company's advance. The sniper had to crawl into position through thick mud and set up where the heat haze was worst. Through the scope which, thanks to the custom seals, remained perfectly clear and unfogged, the Marine could acquire the target. The shot required threading the bullet through an almost invisible fist-sized gap in the dense foliage. With unwavering confidence in the mechanically robust rifle, the Marine squeezed the trigger. The single report was instantly followed by silence from the enemy position. The machine gun, which had spewed death for hours, was quiet, confirming a direct hit on the gunner. The success was a direct testament to the structural integrity of the unconventional mounting. The rifle had maintained its zero perfectly despite the trauma of its journey, allowing the sniper to make an impossible kill that a standard rifle could never have delivered. The impact of that first impossible kill and the subsequent successful missions using the modified rifles quickly transformed the Marine Corps' entire long-range engagement capability. The modified sniper units quickly established themselves as the deadliest shooters in the Pacific. Previously, sniper operations often ended inconclusively due to optical failure. Now, mission success rates for targeted enemy elimination skyrocketed. The unwavering, dependable precision meant snipers could eliminate Japanese officers, radio operators, and machine gunners with surgical efficiency and unprecedented regularity, disrupting command and control across entire battle sectors. The psychological effect on the enemy was immediate and devastating. Japanese forces began to fear the silent, unseen single shot that targeted their leadership with pinpoint accuracy, a phenomenon they couldn't explain or counter. For the U.S. Marines, this single, robust modification allowed them to fully exploit their superior training, providing a reliable technological advantage that delivered crucial tactical superiority. The gunsmith's decision to disregard military convention to build a bulky, permanently mounted, and unserviceable rifle was the precise act of engineering defiance that gave U.S. Marines the decisive edge in the brutal, technical war for the Pacific. His stupid idea was not a technical refinement. It was a fundamental solution to a strategic problem: the failure of fragile equipment under extreme environmental duress. By prioritizing absolute unyielding structural rigidity and complete waterproofing over every other concern, the gunsmith created a rifle that performed with guaranteed precision exactly when the official, compliant rifles failed. The ultimate legacy of this field modification was the transformation of the Marine sniper from a high-risk asset into the most reliable and feared asset on the battlefield. The impact of this robust, dependable precision was massive. It allowed Marines to punch surgical holes in the Japanese defense lines by eliminating high-value targets, officers, machine gunners, and radio operators from impossible distances and through thick cover, all while remaining unseen. The efficiency of the invisible shot directly saved the lives of countless infantrymen who could advance without being pinned down by concentrated fire. Ultimately, the adoption of this unconventional system proved a profound lesson in military innovation. The most effective solution is not always the most elegant or the most compliant, but the one forged in necessity. The silence that followed the sniper's shot, delivered by a rifle that should have never been allowed on the battlefield, became the quiet sound of victory for the U.S. Marines in the Pacific.